Yesterday, the store was out of your coffee, your brand, and somehow the whole day felt off. Over a cup of coffee. 10 years ago, you would have shrugged. Today, it bothered you more than you'd like to admit. And here's the part you don't tell anyone. It's not just the coffee. It's the right chair, the right hour, the same route. Things you swore would never matter. And that now quietly hold your day in place. Part of you looks at all this and feels a small private discomfort. I was the person who hated plans. What happened to me? The obvious answer would be, you got older. Everyone gets like this. But that answer falls apart the moment you look closely. Because there are 30-year-olds who live and die by their routines, and 80-year-olds who can't stand them. And there's a stranger detail. This grew in you exactly when your life got more free. Fewer work hours, fewer people depending on you, fewer obligations. Spontaneity should have come roaring back. It did the opposite. And once you understand why it did the opposite, the word routine never sounds the same again. Think about what happens inside you when a plan changes at the last minute. It's not drama. It's physical. A small tightening. A tiredness that arrives before any effort. And you feel it today in a way you didn't at 35. Here's what's going on. Your brain runs all day long like a prediction machine. It's constantly betting on what comes next, and every lost bet costs energy. Think of a GPS recalculating the route. Once, fine, 50 times in one day, and the battery doesn't make it to dinner. Seen from that angle, routine isn't the absence of a life. It's your brain winning its bets, with battery left over for the things that actually matter. So enjoying predictability isn't a manufacturing defect, but that still doesn't solve the mystery of timing. Why now? Why did the same person who found routine suffocating at 30 start to need it? Because the answer to that question isn't in your brain. It's in your biography, in a detail that spent decades hiding in plain sight. Look at your calendar from 20 years ago. It was a battlefield. Meetings, school runs, deadlines, appointments, birthday parties. You chose almost none of it. And that's exactly why routine felt like a cage, because it was other people's cage. Here's the inversion almost nobody catches. You never hated structure. You hated structure that was imposed on you. And for decades, life handed you so much structure for free. Work, kids, obligations, that you never had to build your own. As those borrowed walls came down, one by one, what remained wasn't pure freedom. It was a space that felt a little too open. And that breakfast at the same time, that walk on the same route, that's not you turning rigid. Those are the first walls you ever chose to build. Research on older adults living independently points in this direction. For many people, a steady daily routine is associated with less anxiety and a stronger sense of safety and coherence in the day. So, is that settled? Routine is good? End of story? Not so fast, because there's a part of the research that points in the opposite direction, and it touches the exact fear that brought you here. It deserves to be said out loud. Some researchers have studied the preference for routine in older adults and raised an uncomfortable hypothesis. In some cases, a growing attachment to routine could work as an early sign of vulnerability, a way the brain compensates when handling the unexpected starts getting harder. That line of research exists. It's not a consensus, but pretending it doesn't exist would be dishonest. So, before the next piece of data, make a silent bet. If too much routine can be a warning sign, then the group doing worst should be the most routine-bound people, right? That's exactly what you'd expect. Looking at older adults living in their communities, their daily lives mapped, their physical and mental health measured, and the result flips that bet upside down. The group doing worst wasn't the most routine-bound. It was the people with the least routine. The lowest level of structure was the most harmful, not the highest. The dangerous extreme wasn't where everyone looks. And in another study, scientists followed more than 100 adults between 65 and 84 for 3 weeks, logging every social interaction. When, where, with whom. It pointed the same way. The people whose interactions were more regular, more predictable, reported more day-to-day emotional well-being. So the difference between an anchor and a symptom isn't the routine itself, it's the pattern. A stable, chosen preference that gives you solid ground. That's an anchor. What deserves attention is something else, an abrupt change, a fast narrowing, a routine that stops being a choice and becomes a hiding place. And that exact distinction is what makes all of this practical. Because there's a simple test you can run on your own routine. Picture 2 people taking the same walk at 7 in the morning around the same block. From the outside, identical. On the inside, 2 different worlds. The first one walks because that's the moment her day finds its center. If it rains, she has her coffee by the window and moves on with her life. The second one walks because on the day she didn't, a restlessness with no name took over her whole morning. And she never wants to feel that again. Same routine, 1 anchor, 1 cage. So the test isn't about what you do every day. It's about what's underneath. Ask yourself, no rush, do I do this because it does me good, or because the thought of not doing it puts a knot in my stomach? The first answer describes an anchor. The second deserves a closer look, not with guilt, but with curiosity. And one distinction worth saying clearly: preferring routine is a trait, common, human, and for many people, healthy. What's not a trait is sudden change. If someone's need for routine shifts abruptly, if a person's world narrows fast, or if it comes along with other things, memory slipping, growing isolation, losing interest in what used to bring joy, that's not a topic for a video. That's a conversation with a doctor, not because something is necessarily wrong, but because that combination deserves to be looked at by someone who can look closely. Over the next 48 hours, do just this. Watch your routine the way you'd study a map, and find one thing, just one, that you do every day, and that honestly, you would defend with pleasure if someone tried to take it away. Don't change anything, just name it. And when you find that anchor, you're going to notice something about it that changes the whole story, including the story of who you were at 30. Go back to the 30-year-old version of you, the one who hated plans. That person wasn't freer than you are now. They were surrounded by structures other people built, and they called the little space left between those walls freedom. That anchor you're about to name, that person never had one like it. Not one of the structures in their life was chosen. Not one. You now are doing something they never did. Choosing your own walls. What time the day begins. What deserves consistency. What gets left out. That sting over the wrong coffee isn't your world shrinking. For many people, it's the sign of a world that finally has a center, built by hand, piece by piece, by you. You didn't lose your spontaneity. You learned what it costs and where it's worth the price. You didn't run from freedom. You finally chose where it lives. If this way of looking at the second half of life makes sense to you, that's what this channel is made of. Every week,